Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the social characteristics and the religious characteristics of the three different colonial regions. So just as a reminder, the three colonial regions are the New England region, there's the Mid-Atlantic region, and then there's the Southern colonies. So first we'll start off with the social characteristics of the New England colonies. And New England's colonial society was based on religious standing. So remember, these are Puritans. They only want people who are Puritans there. And Puritans grew increasingly intolerant of dissenters who challenged their belief in the connection between religion and government. So Puritans were intolerant. They didn't like people who didn't agree with them. And Rhode Island was founded by dissenters fleeing persecution by Puritans in Massachusetts. So a lot of people were living in Massachusetts and they were not Puritans, so they were being persecuted, and they fled. They left to Rhode Island, and that's how Rhode Island became a state. Next, we're going to talk about the social characteristics of the Middle Atlantic colonies. And the Mid-Atlantic colonies were home to multiple religious groups who generally believed in religious tolerance. So they were tolerant. They didn't care what religion you are. They were fine with you being there. Opposite of the Puritans, who were intolerant. So there's multiple religious groups. And in particular, the Quakers settled in Pennsylvania. The Huguenots and the Jews settled in New York. And the Presbyterians settled in New Jersey. And the middle colonies also had flexible social structures and began to develop a middle class of skilled artisans, which are people who make or fix things, and entrepreneurs, business owners, and small farmers. So one thing about the Mid-Atlantic colonies, they didn't really have a lot of rich people. They didn't have a lot of poor people. A lot of people were in the middle. So, they were doing well. They had money, and things were good. It's good when you have a middle class. So now we have the social characteristics of the Southern colonies. And Virginia and Southern colonies had a social structure based on family status and the ownership of land. So your status in society was based off your family and the amount of land you owned. So if you owned a lot of land and you had a good family, you would be very high on the social structure. And there was large landowners in the eastern lowlands dominated colonial government and society. So people who owned large amounts of land, they're really the ones that dominated the government. And large landowners also maintained an allegiance, which is a friendship, to the Church of England and closer ties to Britain than did those in the other colonies. So remember, the Cavaliers, they were the rich people from England. The King of England gave lots of land. So the large landowners, they like England. They still belong to the Church of England, and they still have close ties to Britain. So in the mountains and valleys in Virginia and the South, society was characterized by small subsistence farmers, hunters, traders, Scottish, Irish, German, and English descent. So some of these people were more poor in the southern colonies, but only in really in the mountains and valleys. Otherwise, it was large landowners. And Maryland was established with the intent of being a haven for Catholics. And a haven just means safe place, so a lot of Catholics went to Maryland. So now we're going to talk about religion in the colonies. And we have to talk about the Great Awakening, which is actually on your word wall. But the Great Awakening is a religious movement that swept through Europe and the colonies during the mid-1700s. So a lot of people all of a sudden became religious. And the Great Awakening led to a rapid growth of evangelical Christian denominations such as Methodist and Baptist. And the Great Awakening challenged the established religious and governmental orders and laid one social foundation for the American Revolution. So just a lot of people became religious, in particular evangelical, which is a type of Christian. And they really started to challenge the old church. And this eventually leads to the Revolution, which we talk about later on. But the Great Awakening is just a religious movement. And the New England colonies, remember, they had Puritans, they were intolerant, The Mid-Atlantic colonies had Anglicans and Catholics, which in England, you're not allowed to be any of those in New England or England. And the Quakers in Pennsylvania were tolerant of other religions. Let me fix that. All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Quick slide for today.